Why do you think Trump is doing relatively well with young black men?
I think that it's a combination of the disgust and the absence of trust that an abundance of people, not just black males, but an abundance of people in America have with Capitol Hill. And that's what I keep telling folks. I've been telling folks this for the longest time. Listen, when it comes to Donald Trump, he speaks a lot of folks' language. They don't care as much about the message. They care about how he's delivering the message because he delivers it in a way that they want to deliver it to Capitol Hill.
Part of sports is predicting who's going to win.
I still believe it's going to be Kamala Harris that's going to win this election.
Really?
I really do. I think she's going to win this election because I think that when you take away the fringes, folks on the fringe, on the extreme right and left, and you get to the center, I think ultimately people are going to look at her, regardless of what they're saying about her. They're going to look at her and say, you can work with her. And the way the streets of America was when he departed from office in 2020, I don't think a lot of people are going to want to relive that. And I think by that virtue is what is going to propel her to the presidency.
Why are 3 women interviewing him instead of 2 women and a guy? No matter how truthful or lack thereof a presidential candidate is, he's a presidential candidate. There's only 2 of them. Really? I know y'all want me to bring up Kennedy. It doesn't count. It's coming down to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. What you want to do? Not hear from him? Not let him speak? Push him aside? Don't let him talk to black journalists? We don't want that. The man is the GOP nominee for the presidency of the United States. There's a 50-50 shot, if not better, that he's going to be the 47th president of the United States. He's number 45, now he's going to be 47. Potentially. What you going to do? Just going to ignore him and not speak to him? If he wants to lie, let him lie. It's our job as journalists to ask the tough questions. It's our job to make sure that the facts are articulated. But what Roland Martin has to understand, and I know he knows this because the brother is smart, he is gifted, he is knowledgeable, and he's experienced in this business. You don't always get to check somebody about every single thing that they say in the moment when you have a limited amount of time with them. See, Roland gives the impression that you got to check them on the spot with everything. Well, what if every word out of their mouth is embellishment or lies? You going to stop the conversation to correct them on every single point where there are a multitude of points that you want to get to, but only a limited amount of time that you have to get to those points? We got to be smarter than that. We got to be smarter than that. And to talk, and listen, I'm no defender of Donald Trump. I know about the impeachments. I know about the civil suits.
Legal tip of the day. Donald Trump was not found guilty. He was found liable. In the U.S., guilt is a matter for criminal cases, where someone is prosecuted by the government. But in a civil case like this, one person, Jean Carroll, sues another, Donald Trump, in court. So he was found liable, not guilty, in order to pay damages or money. So I'm telling you this privately-ish because no one likes to be corrected by an annoying lawyer you're speaking to. So it's liable, not guilt.
I know about the criminal trials.
NBC News has learned that Justice Department officials are starting the process of figuring out how to wind down federal cases against Donald Trump.
Yeah, Chris, it's not a surprise that these cases can't go forward when Donald Trump takes office. What's interesting here is that the DOJ is moving to end them even before he takes office, citing the long-standing DOJ policy that sitting presidents can't be prosecuted.
I know about the 34 felony convictions.
Tell us about what this conviction actually was about for the everyday citizen.
Was Trump charged with an extramarital affair, paying hush money unlawfully to cover up that affair? No, of course not. That's not criminal. New York says he falsified business records. His then lawyer, Michael Cohen, pays $130,000 to Stormy Daniels so she won't publish her allegations about having had an affair with Trump. Trump starts reimbursing Cohen for that $130,000, pays him some money on top of that for his services. Those generate bookkeeping entries, does it monthly for the year of 2017. That's how you end up with 36 different records. That's how you get 34 counts. Now, every one of those bookkeeping entries was listed as payment for legal expenses. The claim by the state, you were actually paying Stormy Daniels money to help your campaign. So those aren't legal expenses. Those are campaign expenses. So the first claim in the case is that's a false business record. And if you don't think that's false, there's no case.
Is Donald Trump a convicted felon? That question seems to have an easy answer. The jury came back with 34 counts, felony counts of guilty. But he hasn't been sentenced yet. Does that matter? I asked Will Scharf, who is a personal attorney for President Trump. He's on my show tonight, but here's just a snippet where I ask him, is Donald Trump a convicted felon? His answer is going to blow your mind. So they come back and say guilty on 34 felony counts. He is not a convicted felon until the final judgment comes and the sentence comes down from the judge? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, that's correct. He is not subject to any of the restrictions we place on felons under the law. He is not a felon in the eyes of the law until final judgment is entered. And as I said, because of the very real legal challenges we've raised, because of the very real legal issues with that jury verdict, I'm not sure if final judgment will ever happen. I don't want it to. I don't think it will.
Right.
And until that date, which may never come, President Trump is just objectively not, factually not a convicted felon.
So now you know, going into the campaign from now till November, when you hear somebody say he's a convicted felon, he in fact is not. By law, he's not. And now you know.
Here's why Trump is not really a felon. Now, wait a minute. Y'all are saying, Matt, what are you talking about? He was found guilty of 34 felonies. How can he not be a felon? Well, there's two reasons. First, the judge has not imposed sentence yet. Until the judge imposes sentence, the judge has the discretion to set aside the jury's verdict. It's what we call in the law a judgment notwithstanding the verdict, or in Latin, it's a JNOV, meaning the judge could basically stand up and say, as the 13th juror, I'm going to reject their verdict and we're going to go ahead and acquit him. So he's not technically a felon yet because the judge has not entered his decision on the topic yet. Secondly, the judge has no choice but to at least declare a mistrial because of what the Supreme Court said in the case of Trump versus the United States. In that case, the U.S. Supreme Court said that evidence of official acts cannot be brought into a criminal proceeding. Evidence of a president's official acts cannot be brought into a criminal proceeding for any reason. Nevertheless, over the objections of President Trump's attorneys, members of Trump's White House staff were subpoenaed, and in their discussions, in their testimony, they described official acts of the president. So that means, under the precedent of the United States Supreme Court, Judge Merchan has no choice but to set the judgment aside. Now, whether he does it as a JNOV and completely acquits the president, or if he simply declares a mistrial and says, okay, guys, we're going to have another trial later, is immaterial. Trump is not a convicted felon, nor will he be one.
Stacking charges and rearranging things just to make it fit a case. No, to be honest with you, I think the case is nonsense. Every real estate person in New York does what he did. Nobody's ever been charged with this until him. And that's why I like the surging of the police. You know, it's a perversion of justice.
Those felonies did nothing to stop Trump from running.
No, in fact, they made him more relevant.
Did that backfire?
Sure did.
And that was that Alvin Bragg's choice to do that? Or why?
Because Alvin's very ambitious.
What do you mean?
He wants to be, something. I don't know what. Mayor. I'm not sure what he wants to be, but I know he's not happy just being the DA of New York County. So this is, like, before he decided to prosecute Trump, did you know who he was? You do now.
What was the point of even doing it then?
To make him a convict.
To make him what?
A convicted felon.
What if he can still run for presidency and...
Yeah, but it affects his candidacy if he's a convicted felon.
I was trying to count the losses. I was like, I wonder...
If he's a convicted felon.
I was trying to count the losses. I was like, I wonder how many are against him. I think it's for lawfare.
Yes.
That's what I've gathered from that.
That is what they call it.
Hey, you guys remember that judge in New York that charged Donald Trump with fraud and claimed that Donald Trump said his buildings were worth more than they were actually worth, and then the guy charged him with like $450 million? Well, that went to appellate court. In appellate court, there's 5 different judges that hear the case, right? And all 5 of those judges looked at that case and decided that they should sanction the people that brought the case. By the end of the appeals court, it was the lawyers that brought the case against Donald Trump who were begging to be forgiven. Needless to say, the case was overturned and Donald Trump will be getting all of his money back. And guess what? When his other case goes to appeals, I highly doubt this man will have 34 felonies. But Democrats can keep praying, though.
We know all of this. And everybody's been talking. They're going to get him. He wasn't supposed to be here, just so you know. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be in jail, right? He was supposed to be denied the opportunity to be the GOP nominee, right? How'd that work out? The left has been talking for years. How you going to get him? You've been talking since 2016 when Hillary Rodham Clinton was calling him a fraud. Did you get him there? No.
But what we learned last night is that she never had a chance. Because too many American citizens are too disgusted with what they see from the extreme left, who are the progressives, who apparently hijacked the Democratic Party and leaned them and pulled them so far to the left that they felt, hell, even if it is Donald Trump, at least that would be closer to us recognizing the country that we live in as opposed to what we've been subjected to. And in the end, celebrities who are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions, who most American citizens feel are incredibly detached from their way of life and their quality of life, we're not going to get away in guilting them into doing something different than what their experience says is going on and what they should do about it. That's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the truth. Donald Trump's return to the White House is the greatest comeback probably in American history. 34 felony counts.
55% of Latino men voted for Trump. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think that economically, they were looking at things. First of all, you've got, in this country, you've got Cubans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Colombians, et cetera, et cetera. And if you talk to the Hispanic community, depending on who you're talking to, they think differently. The Cubans think differently than the Dominicans. The Dominicans think different than Colombians. To some, the economy was a priority. To some, believe it or not, it was the border. You had some folks within the Hispanic populace that were encouraging the borders to be closed. But here's why that's so imperative. It's so important. Because we're not Latinos. They're telling you that's what we want. We have to stay online. We have to be online in order to get in. Who are you to bypass the line? And one of my friends, I remember he used this analogy, and I never forget this as long as I live. He said, you like Six Flags, you go to Great Adventures? I said, I have. He said, sure. Disney World? Sure, I have. Of course I have. He said, so you stand in line, Take about 2 hours to get on some of these rides because they're that popular. He said, and right before it's time for you to get on that line, somebody jumped in front of you. What you gonna do? And he said that kind of mentality is how you have folks within the Latino, within the Hispanic community, some of them, not all, but some of them who view immigration that way. So again, when you think about the economics, when you think about immigration, those two things are what I have found has influenced the Hispanic vote.
Now, Joe Biden stepped aside as the presumptive Democratic nominee on July 21st. Okay? Now I'm going to look at this right now. I'm looking at my calendar because I just want to make sure. July 21st was a Sunday. We've had 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 1 day since Joe Biden stepped aside. The only damn place we've seen Kamala Harris is at pep rallies. What's up? Somebody got to say something. And it can't just be the conservatives. Right is right. I'm talking to my sister here. Come on now. You running for the presidency of the United States of America. You got my vote. You running for the presidency of the United States of America. What you hiding for? And I mean hiding in plain sight. Somebody got to say it. Somebody got to say it. Now, you can't be running for the presidency of the United States. Not one single press conference, not one single one-on-one sit-down interview where somebody gets to question you about the questions that we ask. That's not fair. That's not fair. And if you're a conservative and you out there lambasting her for it, ridiculing her for it, trying to torment her for it or whatever, it is perfectly within your right to do so. All of you anti-conservatives out there, shut the hell up. That's a valid point. It ain't valid to bring up a blackness or an Indian heritage and to try to point to things of that nature. That's nonsense. But to ask her about her record, because she is attached to the Biden record, is definitely apropos, especially when you were bragging about the record. We talked about Biden being a transformative president. Well, stand on it then. Stand on it. Where you at? And when you know the world is transfixed on you as the potential next president of the United States, and we're looking to see what you do, you show up with Tim Walz by your side? Really? Really? You know we were looking for you. You know we wanted to hear from you. Talked about dealing with criminals, fraudsters, and, con artists. And then you said, believe me when I say, ladies and gentlemen, I know Donald Trump's tight. Well, if you know it's tight and you're accustomed to dealing with him, why is he the one doing a bunch of interviews? Again, the strategy was fine. I'm not complaining about the strategy you employed up to this point. I'm saying be clear. That ain't going to win you the presidency. And for your first interview, and by the way, you know the code that he's using. Nod your head, Rashawn. Nod your head, Honor Free, especially you, Honor Free. Oh, especially you. All right, and you too, Bailey. All of you. Nod your head. Is Trump, yes or no? Is Trump not using codes when he points out that she's hiding? He's leaning on gender. I'm a man. I'm strong. Look at the war in Russia and in Ukraine with Russia. Look at what's going on with Israel and Palestine, in the Gaza Strip and beyond. Look at the kind of troubles that we're experiencing, whether it's North Korea, it's China, or whatever. Iran, Iraq. I mean, come on, y'all. Look at all of this. You think she's strong enough? She can't even show up to do a hard interview. I show up all the time. This is what he's doing. We all know what that is.
Okay, so I know it might be a little painful for people out there to listen to Stephen A. Smith. I'm with you. But I only am using this as another example of why her campaign is in trouble. Now, obviously, most people are not going to believe that because they go based off what the fake news media is telling them.
We all thought he was finished. He was done. He went back to his hub at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and the next thing you know, plotted a return to the White House that, regardless of what they tried to throw in his direction, nothing worked. Nothing worked. Now, we could say what we want about his policies, whatever they may be. We could say what we want about his character, whatever you want to say. But when you think about leaders, one of the primary elements you're looking for from them is fight. Are you somebody that has alligator skin and a level of intestinal fortitude that few can rival? So when you got to go into the lion's den and deal with adversity, you're more than capable of doing so. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if any of us can definitively say we could deal with what Donald Trump dealt with and still end up back in the White House. He was definitely helped by Joe Rogan's endorsement in the wee hours before the election began, or before election day began. That played a role. He had some celebrities supporting him. I don't think that played much of a role. But ultimately, his focus on the economy and inflation ravaging us all, combined with the border issues, immigration, and over 11 to 12 million migrants entering the country illegally and focusing on that, I thought that there were certain things that he did that were nothing short of brilliant.
I watched you on The View today. How you doing?
All right, how you doing, Sean? Congratulations on the election, the results. You called it. You said it was going to happen. I can't refute it. I can't refuse the fact that the president of the United States, the president-elect, is well deserving of it. It was a romp. It was an annihilation. I know a lot of people are trying to, label it like, you know what, he won a little bit in a lot of different places. I don't want to hear that. He won, and he won in absolutely convincing fashion, so much so that I think that in light of those results, we have to look at this election as a referendum on the Democratic Party in America saying, we're not feeling where you are. We're not feeling where you tried to go. We want no part of it. We're not having it. And they made their choice, and we all have to accept it.
But what happened? Think about this leading up to the election. They said the polls had it very, very tight. I had renowned pollster Frank Luntz tell me that this would be decided in days. It might take until next week for them to make a decision before the polls closed last night. Ladies and gentlemen, the polls closed at 7 on the East Coast. And Donald Trump was announced as president-elect by 2 a.m. In 7 hours, he had over 270 electoral college votes, 292 to be exact, in 7 hours. That's America speaking. We tired of all of this.
She lost 31 states. He swept the swing states, the blue states. Got 312 electoral college votes. Ladies and gentlemen, excuse my language. That is an ass whipping. That is what that is. There is no way around it, which means that there needs to be an autopsy done on the Democratic Party. Because you see, I'm not necessarily happy that Donald Trump win, but I'm a gracious loser. And more importantly than anything else, I'm about what's in the best interest of the country. And if the country decidedly picked one candidate over another, we have no choice but to pay attention to that. This wasn't some close race to be debated. They were projecting that Donald Trump was going to lose and potentially that the outcome wouldn't be decided for a minimum of 5 days and possibly as long as a week. Ladies and gentlemen, the results came in 5 hours.
All due respect to Sis Kamala, she threw a concert. And I like Meg, and I love Glorilla. Mm-hmm. She threw a concert with Meg and Glorilla, thinking that was going to move and influence our community to vote for her. You think that we're that low functioning that you cannot talk politics to us and legislation to us for us to choose you based on leadership? That we're going to choose you based on who's dropping it like it's hot or who's bringing in a concert?
Donald Trump is a racist. If you say that Donald Trump is a white supremacist, because he is, if you say that he's a white nationalist, if you say that he's mean, he's nasty, he's going to crack down on us, then I say, good, God. Let the cracker crack down on us, because we need to wake up to reality, and we're never going to wake up to reality and do something for ourselves and stand up for ourselves as long as we're under the illusion that a black face in high place means real change. But I'm sorry to say this, and sorry that everybody that's watching, but if the Honorable Sister Kamala Harris had been elected into office, we'd be going right to sleep right now. I mean, we just go right on off to sleep. She would get up there smiling with all that joy, and we would say, oh, we done made it. We done made it on to the White House, child. We done made it on. You wouldn't want to hear from me right now if Kamala Harris had gained the White House. You wouldn't want to hear from a black nationalist, Malik Zulu Shabazz, and this black talk of freedom and independence and liberation. You would be happy that you had a black face in the White House. You would be happy that you had Megan Thee Stallion dancing at the White House and the other woman, Glorilla up there dancing it, popping their fingers in the White House. You would be happy if you was like Roland Martin. He'd be rolling his big behind up into the White House. And Bakari Sellers and Van Jones. Van Jones would just, he wouldn't even be crying. He'd be happy. All the Negroes, be at the White House, and the masses of our people would not be moving nowhere.
Hello? I don't know what to tell you, Barack. I have no idea where the money went, right? $20 million? Can you tell Beyonce to give me a call back? She can also just wire me. You know, technically she should pay me back. I didn't even perform. Is this Offset? Oh, I thought you guys broke up. Can I talk to Cardi for a second? Hey, girl. Yeah, listen. So here's the thing. You know, I didn't get elected. You didn't help me get elected, and you said you would. So I think that, you know, you should unburden that and give me my money back. Don't hang up on me. I will dog walk you, bitch. Hello? Hey, girl. And this is Big Sister General. No, everything is fine. Listen, let me ask you a question. What do you think if you know, gave me my money back? Hi, Willie. You need a lawyer? Hello? I ruined my knees for that man. Nancy, stop calling me. No, stop calling me. Didn't you retire? You got your own problems, bitch. You need to just... Okay, look, I'm sorry. I take it back. Look, listen, can you teach me about the stock market? I don't know what any of that means. Look, how about I just give you my password and you bet on some stocks for me? I'm in a little bit of a financial pickle. I guess I shouldn't have said that they were at the wrong rally. It's all Big Mike's fault. Hey, Whoopi. Are you bitches hiring? Hello? Predator looking ass bitch.
White people are the ones that saved this election. No matter how many people switched over, no matter how many people switched over and voted for Trump, the numbers say, even though we 13.6% of the population, we still collectively voted for Kamala Harris at an 80% clip.
Can I show the this?
Pull it up.
There you go.
On average, if you combine black men and black women, 88 and 73%, we still voted for Harris at an 80% clip combined. Like I said,
10 black man is weak is wild behavior, though, man.
Absolutely. Most black men
vote for a woman.
You think that
73% of the population that voted a black man, they simps.
So that brings up a question for me then. So if a black man voted for Kamala, they're a simp? That's
absolutely.
They're a weak man. Absolutely.
You believe that?
100%.
Especially after the campaign that she ran, which targeted the black woman to go against the black man. You had Michelle Obama up there telling you to go against the black man.
I don't agree with none of that. And I also don't agree with
why do you think that the minute that they started to have problems with black men, Obama can come out there and whip y'all and tell y'all that they're gonna get Michelle on y'all if y'all don't get in line?
Trump is a horrible man to pick as a leader of the country.
But politicians in other countries don't care about that. They don't care whether he's misogynistic to people or whether he's a convicted felon. They obviously have respect for him because they've been getting some act right ever since he got elected. It's not about, nobody cares about his personal business. There's money at stake, there's land at stake, there's resources at stake. Y'all have to be adults. All this, I don't like him because he was touching women. He's a convicted felon. Who cares in the grand scheme of things? This is chess. It's not checkers.
You're not having dinner
I don't
with
care
him.
about that.
I'm not gonna
These
meet
other
him.
world leaders do not care about that. Kamala is a joke. They would treat her like a joke. They would treat the United States as a joke. And all y'all care about is Trump bad. Trump touches women. Trump, grow up. I'm sorry. This is no With disrespect. But
No,
I'm
I didn't
so
take
sick and tired of hearing black men always have an excuse for why that they're weak, why they make weak voting decisions. That's weak. That's weak. As a man, you should be okay with a man operating in his masculinity that is supposed to be leading the world, the most powerful country on the planet. But y'all would pick an incompetent woman who is clearly a puppet. She can't talk about any policy. She can't talk about anything past 30 minutes. Like, it's infuriating to me as a woman. And then people want to talk about me because I think black men are weak. It's the truth. Like, almost 80% of black men that voted for Kamala because they don't like Trump. Think about the bigger picture. And
About it.
Latinos outvoted y'all. They saved this
Yeah, that
country.
was
The
crazy to me.
Latino man.
To see Latinos vote that high after what was said, I'm like, damn,
Well,
Latinos.
most of the Latinos don't want more immigrants over here anyway, so that makes a lot of sense when people really just get down to it. They just don't. It's like we enough.
Black men
people out.
shouldn't either.
That
They're like
makes
the losing demographic.
Well, there was a great number of Latinos that got unalived by these same people, and y'all like people keep grouping them together and to think that I think it's very racist to say just because I'm Latino, I'm supposed to go and accept that we have murderers and rapists and all of that over here. And just because they came from my country or a country that speak my language, I'm supposed to just be okay with them being in here. But then at the same time, we got the Hispanic little girls being unalived and being left with no clothes on because they've been touched in all type of crazy ways by these same people that y'all trying to call their cousins. Like, I think that's very racist to even think like that and say something like that.
Yeah, I don't understand why the number one thing that I keep seeing, especially on CNN, my God, is that Latinos are not supporting illegal immigration. Why do y'all automatically assume that we want illegal people here? Like, not all of us are illegal. So I think it's funny. They're like, oh, your abuelo and your abuela is going to be deported. Sweetheart, we're all born here. What are you talking about? So I don't understand why they keep having this rhetoric that just because we're Hispanic, we automatically are supposed to support illegal immigration.
No,
Get out.
Come in here.
You're being deported. Bye.
It's the sympathy for people that came over here illegally. Like, you have to follow the rules. You have to follow the law. There are people that I have friends who still aren't necessarily citizens that are still on school and work visas here because they can't be here legally yet. They haven't gone through the entire process. And yet you can hop a gate, which isn't even a gate anymore, whatever you want to call it, and come over here and get all of these benefits. And I'm sorry, the illegal immigrant sympathizers, that's why I'm like, I'm not understanding what the confusion is about this. Trump won fair and square. You said you voted for Trump, Victor, but that's why I was confused with the hostility.
Since you're from New York, were you upset when they kicked out all of these kids out of school to house the migrants? Were you mad about that? Because
and it's an apartment complex, not even 4 or 5 blocks off of 82nd, where we don't have to get into that. That'll be all day. It's bad. It's bad. You can go on YouTube and look up 500 videos where they're doing this every day. They're robbing stores. They've shut down the Target off of Bay Parkway. They shut down all of this shit because, excuse my language, they shut down a whole lot of stuff because people keep running in the stores and robbing. And they do it in broad daylight.
Here just to destroy America. A lot of them not even here to be American. They're here to destroy America. I honestly believe that something is going to happen. I can feel it. I feel like before they get sent back, something is going to happen. I honestly feel like we have terrorists in this country right now. As a black man, whoever's a black man, for you to vote for this shit, like, y'all niggas is weird. Y'all
for you to vote
around
for grown men to be in the bathrooms with your daughters.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's why I want to know where the
weird.
stance is, because that's why I'm just confused.
They ran a campaign trying to get the woman to go against the man. So you to turn around as a man and vote for that.
It's so interesting that men will talk about that they voted for their daughters and their wives for reproductive rights, but then you're also voting for men to be in women's bathrooms, men to take over women's sports, men to basically claim that they're women and take but you are, though, because that's what that administration is standing for. That you're voting for children to get mutilated and castrated chemically and sometimes even surgically. Like, I think it's funny that they're all for women's rights, but they can't even identify what a woman is.
No serious country should be telling its children that they were born with the wrong gender, a concept that was never heard of in all of human history. Nobody's ever heard of this, what's happening today. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body, they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations. I will ask Congress to pass a bill establishing that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female. They are assigned at birth.